Welcome everybody to the final day of Earth Week. Climate Council, Greater Kansas City, and 90.1 FM KKFI sponsoring our fantastic events that have happened this week. My name is Heath Wessling, founder and owner of the Kansas City Wellness Club. I'm really thrilled to be here with Gabe. Gabe, you want to say hi?
Hello, Gabe Engelbert, Food Forest, Kansas City. Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Heath.
Yeah, we're really excited to provide some info to you, talk to you today about living local and natural for the sustainability of the planet and the body. So let's dive right into it. First off, a quick introduction a background on me. I said I'm the founder and owner of the Kansas City Wellness Club. I've been working in wellness and so been focused on body sustainability for about 15 years now. I've also been fortunate to travel the world and see a broad band of perspectives when it comes to what unites us all and what similarities we all share, which we all have 80 to 90% more in common than we do differences, and how ultimately we all are working towards the same objectives. And I've also been my own living lab since 2017 for living local and natural as well. So I wanted to see if it could be done myself before trying to ask others to do it. But talked about the Kansas City Wellness Club. We are down in the historic Kansas City Club building, an eco-friendly, holistic wellness center. We only use naturally derived products, ingredients, and treatments. We don't do anything invasive down there. We're all about healthy body, healthy planet. So definitely come check us out. We opened just before COVID shut the world down, so we're still trying to get the word out a lot about our business and what we do down there. But it's all aligned with our climate objectives here and body sustainability objectives. So the reason we wanted to talk about this today is because of how much we, both of us, are really passionate about a healthy body as well as a healthy planet and our businesses that we do to serve those purposes. And quite often I hear of a lot of climate activists, a lot of climate professionals speak a lot about what is external to their body, you know, the cars that they drive or recycling or certain things that they appear separated from. And the fact is that planet sustainability and our body sustainability is very interconnected with each other. The good that we do to one benefits the other, and the bad that we do to one impacts the other as well. So when we talk about sustainable living, sustainable world, sustainable life that we want to have, it must include both. We really do need to think how interconnected both a healthy body and is to a healthy planet. Why is this relevant? Well, what I call the tidal wave of modern day life is just relentless these days. And it's only gotten worse these last 20 years, especially even at a higher scale, these last 5 to 10 years of so many things being thrown at us every single day. People being very overwhelmed, being very busy. I don't know if you're like me, hearing so many folks today when you ask, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a while. How often the answer is something like, oh, good, just busy right now, just really busy. And, you know, we didn't used to say that. You know, humans never used to say that most of the time when they met someone. So this is something brand new to us. They feel overwhelmed each day. They feel unfulfilled, feel like they're going through the motions. They want more time. They want to align their intentions more to their core values. And things are rough right now. Inflation is really difficult. It's really high. Supply chain issues and skyfall events are bringing a lot of risk and volatility to our lives and causing us to spend more, causing us to be more concerned about how we're going to take care of ourselves and our family and those that we love. So we as humans, we need stability and resiliency. That's in our DNA, and all of us on the world need good health as well. So it is something that we need to look at right now. We've reached this point in human history where we need to start making some fundamental changes to how we live life in order to better serve both the planet and our bodies. And we'll get more into those reasons coming up here. You know, first off, I like to say being planet friendly a lot because if you want to avoid some of the fringes that really raise people's emotions when you're trying to talk to them about the climate and doing the right things, the fact is you look at pictures like this and you see a big, huge needle going into the down underneath the earth and just penetrating the earth and just pulling out of it this stuff that's been in there for millions of years that we're going to then burn and push into the planet and out of our vehicles a lot of times, but sometimes out of these factories that you're seeing that are mass producing a lot of this stuff. And you see these clouds of smoke going into the atmosphere. Anybody with any common sense can just say, hey, that's at least not planet friendly. You can debate all day long about the true impact it's having on the planet, but the best thing to do is to find middle ground and just say, hey, at least we should all agree that the planet was not meant to be disturbed in this way by humans, and that we should be working towards treating it more in a friendly way, more of a sustainable fashion. Likewise with our body, common sense and intuition should come to play here. And I'm going to show you some slides here over these next few seconds. And I say brace yourselves because these might be the most sobering slides that you have seen in a long, long while, maybe ever. But it is a map of the obesity trends, the BMI indexes in the United States of America, starting in 1990, every 5 years from 1990. So you see, you start here and it gives some color coding. Obviously, this was early on, so some of the states weren't reporting it yet. But then by 95, they were reporting it. You start to see more states get a darker color. Then another 5 years later in 2000, they get even different colors. Notice here how often the ranges get expanded, how often they need to add new ranges to the legend to show the obesity trends in the United States. And I'm sorry that this is sobering. I'm sorry this is kind of in-your-face information because, but it really plays into what we're talking about today. We as a society are not getting healthier. We're not treating our bodies as well and as friendly as we should, and certainly as well and as friendly as we all talk about and know the planet needs to be treated. So, that's a problem. And it's just not our bodies, it's just not things that we're putting into our bodies or diet or exercise that is causing this. There's a lot of things that are causing us to be unhealthy. For example, common chemicals, a lot of them that are used in cleaning methods, household cleaning products, have not been tested over the long term. A lot of them produce issues, and there's just a lot of reports like this. This is just one example of studies that come out frequently to highlight certain ingredients that many people are using without even knowing that they have risk. And so here's a perfect example of a common cleaner that's used a lot in solvents, some household products like cleaning wipes, paint removers, carpet cleaners. It has a 500% increase now of Parkinson's disease. So as we look at the planet, and we don't want to push chemicals into the planet, right? We don't want to push those plumes of smoke into the planet. We don't want to be drilling down into the planet. Likewise, we don't want toxic ingredients touching our skin, getting breathed in to our skin, or getting eaten as well. This is a cyclical breath that we have with the planet. It is very symbiotic. What impacts one impacts the other, as we mentioned. So we need to keep that in mind. Why I say, well, the thing is our planet is awesome. We all care about the planet. That's a big part of why we're plugging into Earth Week here. But, each one of us are very special as well. We're unique. We're humans. We're living this life here on this earth. And we deserve a good of life just as much as the planet deserves a great life and a fantastic life. So the way I look at it is, if we want the planet to be sustainable and run on its own, then we should also want our own bodies to be sustainable and run on its own as much as possible. And what that means is to, whether it be resist or at least just question and reflect upon when you're going to about to be intervened with something that may not be beneficial to your body. And again, I don't want to get on the fringes here of politics or raise people emotions, but as we look at with those coal and gas and oil, and kind of like what we saw earlier, if we can recognize that releasing these things into the atmosphere, burning them are foreign and they're toxic and they're invasive to this planet, then we also need to look at what is foreign to our bodies, what could be invasive to our bodies, what could be toxic to our health, and at least just be consciously aware of it. Just stop and think about it for a moment. Whether it be when you're going down the grocery aisle and you see thousands and thousands of different options that looks like, you have the world is your oyster. You have anything you can choose. Well, are all those foods coming to you from natural sources? It's probably not, right? And I would say definitely not. There's a lot of foods that are not from natural sources. And so if we're eating things that are not from natural sources, is that the best thing for our bodies? Is that the best thing for our planet? Producing all of these chemicals that are produced in laboratories and then put into different types of foods, they go through some testing, but is that testing satisfactory for what we need as humans to be able to live on this planet? So the more that we look at different types of pharmaceutical drugs or different shots and things like that, it's something that we need to just be consciously aware of, because the way we look at our body and treat our body should be the same that we look at the planet and treat the planet. We should want it to be natural, sustainable, encouraging, very supportive, very, very healthy. So how can you align? How can you align with this? Well, you can start by removing some harsh chemicals, some processed chemicals from your body, your home, and your yard. I have your lifestyle there bolded because, again, this a lot of times people think about the planet and they think about recycling and the car they're driving or their air conditioners and things like that. But what they don't understand is their body and their yard and their cleaners that they use in their house are completely interconnected to that. So you can start by removing those from your life or questioning those, starting to look into them more. What ingredients are in these products that I'm using to clean my house? What are in these products that I'm actually putting into my body and the bodies of people that I care about? Whoops, let me go back. Same thing with economies is looking at engaging with economies and food systems that are good for your body, your home, your yard, your lifestyle. And what that's going to do is it's going to have a very diminished impact on the environment. The more that you can source your ingredients from local areas, think about within 50 miles, 100 miles of Kansas City. Think about the transport time that takes compared to the transport time of getting food from thousands of miles away, different continents. Think about the freshness of food that would produce, how much we know that fresh food tastes better and provides us better, more enhanced nutrition as well, better quality nutrition. And so there's a huge impact to living local for both your body and the planet. And I want to give a shout out to the Climate Council's phenomenal sustainable fashion, sustainable food, sustainable energy presentations that they do. And they show really, really well, especially the fashion one and the food industry, just the impact that it has to get to the scale of mass-produced food thousands of miles away. So huge impact on the planet and definitely an impact on our bodies as well. When we talk about things that you can do, starting to grow your own food, Gabe's going to do a great job of talking about ways you can do that. There's resources out here. I wanted to just put this up here. This is a planting guide for the Kansas City area when you can plant food. But the big point I want to make is there are many resources out there for you. There are so many righteous people who have done all this hard work for you that the reluctance excuse of, man, I don't know where to start, or this seems too overwhelming. I just want you to know that that's you can take some rest and some assurance knowing that there are places to start. It's not overwhelming, and there's a lot of people who have paved this way and made it very easy for you to do. It certainly takes some knowledge and definitely some diligence. Gabe can talk to you a lot about hard work and what that takes, but ultimately anyone can grow their own food and start to become more self-sufficient for the betterment of the planet and our body. And I just want to mention here that the Wellness Club is actually looking to play a big role in this transition, in this advocacy for more localized living, more natural living. I mentioned that we're already down at the Wellness Club from a health standpoint using just natural stuff, eco-friendly stuff. This is where we're going next. Where we're going is to provide an easy, simplified solution for you to automate the repeatable engagement that you have with your everyday needs in ways that align with your core values of wanting to support the planet and wanting to support your body as best as possible. So this will be done by just simply taking some of your preferences, your average budget that you have. We're not going to ask you to spend more. This should just be moving your budget over to this new system. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to do all these things. I want to support local. I want to get healthy. I don't know where to start though. And life is, this tidal wave of modern day life is too fast and furious for me. I can't get out of this right now. So, hit me up when you got something simplified and easy. This is what we want to do. We want to make it really, really condensed and compact for you to know how you can change your choices, your everyday lifestyle choices to live more in harmony with the planet, make your life easier, save you time, give you more time back to use on things that you enjoy, not have to worry about what you're going to eat tonight or eat next week or what you're going to wear for the big party coming up that you might have. And ultimately, living more local, more fresh is going to then make you more resilient to future adverse events that come up, whether that be from the global system that we're in and shocks that ripple down here to the Kansas City area, or whether that be future health risk that occur. And your body's innate immune system is your first and strongest protection against any health risk that's out there. So you're going to gain a lot by plugging more local. And we're going to do some town hall discussion forums on this at the Kansas City Club in May. I would love for you all to be a part of that or spread the word to other food system professionals that are going to be interested in doing this setup, because all these local businesses, all these local farmers, they all started and went into their profession because they wanted to serve their community. Every one of them got into what they did because they care about their community. They want to offer something to their community and they want to enhance the lives of their community. It's just they've had a tough time getting to the market for a lot of different reasons. A lot of global forces don't like a lot of what we talked about here today. They want their control. They want their mass production system. But we're going to create something from scratch. We're going to create our own system. And we need to, like I mentioned, we all can look at the world 10 years ago and talk about what it was like. We all have seen books. We can talk about what the world was like 100 years ago. But I would say, for me, I don't know about you, Gabe, but can you imagine the world 10 years from now or even 100 years from now?
I would like
what you want it to be. That's good. That's good.
years from now.
Gabe's pretty elevated, so he's a visionary as well. But for a lot of folks, it's really hard just because of the pace of life that we're in. But we know we need to start living for not just 10 years from now, but 100 or even 1,000 years from now. We have the technology, we have the knowledge now. It's all in people's hands everywhere they go. The World Encyclopedia. Ignorance can really no longer be positioned as an excuse. So I think this is my last slide here. On that note, I want to just try to empower and encourage you all to remember how we all are active participants in that world that emerges around us. No one's a passive witness. So watch yourself, watch the people that you're talking to who may be like, oh, we'll see, time will tell. We'll see what happens. Those are very passive comments. It makes it seem like we don't have power. We definitely do have power. And with that power, especially those who are very active in talking about the climate, just encourage you, to remember that no matter what happens on those discussions or just in our day-to-day lives, how often we judge others by their actions, yet we judge ourselves by our intentions, right? We know what's going on inside of ourselves. And when people misinterpret that, we get really confused because like, oh no, I was trying to do this, right? This was my intention. But yet we see other people and we judge them by their actions, their words, their choices. And just remember, be active, but be kind. be informative, but yet be very supportive as we go through this, because this is a big transition, and we got to get through it together, and it can only be done through a communal way and not a forceful, direct, oppressive way at all. So with that, Gabe, take it away. We're going to switch here. He's going to go over to the Johnny Carson seat while I get into the Ed McMahon seat.
Always wanted to sit in the seat.
And we'll let Gabe talk about his presentation. So Gabe, you may have to
very much. Heath,
you have to click bottom down there each time you go.
That was an incredible presentation. So I'm going to give a little background here on where I'm at today and how I got here. I think that's so important. Heath, your backstory, I've heard it many times. Is incredible. We all have a story, how we got here. And so for me, I was in the medical field about 12 years. And it was great. I was happy person, happy to be helping people. But I noticed some holes, frays in the tapestry, let's say. And one of those was that in the medical industry that we've come to know, symptoms are treated, right? We're seeing, and I was seeing more and more people be more and more sick, a larger group of people, with autoimmune disease, chronic illness, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, you name it. And the root cause of these illnesses is really what should be treated, but it never was. It was the symptoms, right? So I heard a podcast a few years ago. A man by the name of Jim Gale was on it, and he was talking about how he wants to bring permaculture to the United States. And he gave a brief history of Western medicine. Well, we'll get into that with my presentation a little bit, but it really resonated with me. So I decided at that time it was time for me to move on, and I started my company, Food Forest Kansas City, which is a co-op under Food Forest Abundance, and we follow the permaculture principles. Permaculture, permanent agriculture is what that stands for. So anyway, with that, I'll get involved here with my presentation. Again, thank you guys so much for being here, being part of this. Happy to be celebrating Earth Day here and talking about some of these issues, but more importantly, the solutions, right? We're all problem solvers here, and that's why we're here today. We see a need for that. So our mission is to build a free, healthy, and abundant society for generations to come, and how we do that is food forest growing in every community and every yard. And what that means is basically walking away from turning our back on the centralized food system, right? The centralized food system, which is, when you go down the grocery store, and Heath was talking about it earlier, anybody who manufactures those products, there are really a handful of companies that manufacture almost all the products that we consume. It starts with Nestle, General Mills, and some things like that. So, and the interesting thing is too that, I forget where I read this, but 70 years ago, the average household in the United States they're responsible for producing 30 to 40% of the food that they consume. Wow. Today, that's less than 1%. I mentioned earlier the things that really were eye-opening to me in my day-to-day job in my last career. It was that people were getting more and more ill. And there is definitely a correlation there. Given the fuel that we use for our bodies, the medicine that we use for our bodies, up to somebody else, a centralized system, giving it to them, okay? And it's time to take it back and to rely on ourselves, to be our own producers. So, and that touches on the problem right now. We are removed from our own food production, creating reliance on larger systems we have no control over whatsoever. We may think we do, but we really don't. Centralized systems, large-scale food systems, are too centralized, putting immense pressure on them. but they can negatively impact our access to the quality of food that we need. Heath kind of spoke to this a little bit, but at the grocery store, something that about 3 years ago, I really started taking account of my health, and I noticed that there were seed oils in the majority of the foods. Basically, food comes in a box or a bag. You can look on the label, and there's seed oils in it. Seed oils used to be, I think the leading seed oil that comes to mind is canola oil, which used to be used in vehicles prior to them using it in foods today. Canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower, safflower oil. Those are all seed oils. We need to get away from those. But if you next time you're at the grocery store, look on any ingredient list of any package you pick up, and you'll find one of those for seed oils in there. And that is one of the biggest downfalls of society. Monocultures and industrialized food rely on toxic chemicals that we end up consuming in the food or through poisoned air and water. Another thing that you mentioned, I'm going to keep going back to things that you mentioned, is that our body is a temple, and we need to take care of not only the earth but our body, because the effects that we see on the earth we see with our bodies as well. In my business, Food Forest KC, I do a lot of soil samples, and what I'm seeing is the the nutrients that the soil needs: selenium, molybdenum, manganese. The soil is lacking. Our bodies are lacking those same because they're not in the foods that we're eating. Because of the monoculture food systems. Fast car. Yeah.
I'm excited about the fact that we aren't getting those nutrients into our body. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the soil is lacking those nutrients, and so our bodies are as well, right? One of the reasons for that is because of the big ag, the monoculture farms. Okay, they're spraying a lot of fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides that are carcinogenic. Period. On the food, and we in turn eat that stuff. We could wash it, but it's still within the food, and we eat that. The USDA's version of organic, it's still better to be eating organic than not organic, but it's watered down for sure. And I think that one of the reasons is because they're policing the very companies that are funding them, which happens a lot in these industries, and it's sad but true. And then the environmental impacts. Our current food system relies on industrial machinery and processes that create a significant burden on the environment. And what that really is touching on is, these big machines and tractors that till up the earth, right? Releasing all the carbon from the ground. My wife and I were driving down the road the other day and looked over at an empty field that was not producing anything. And it was just gray. The soil was gray and rocky and chalky and stuff like that. It was dead. It was dead soil from being tilled up every season between being planted corn, soybean, or tobacco. It was dead soil. And then being sprayed with all these carcinogenic chemicals, like, I think the big one that everybody's aware of is glyphosate, right? Roundup, which is created by Monsanto, which is owned by Bayer, which is a pharmaceutical company. There we go. Next slide here. And the solution is greater food security and self-reliance. So basically, getting people to grow their own food, right? Turning that less than 1% back to 30 to 40% or 50%. There are over 40 million acres of lawns in the U.S. alone. People spend a lot of time and money keeping them green, free of weeds, free of bugs, free of pests, right? What we consider to be pests. And typically, unfortunately, what that involves is spraying chemicals, right? We're a society now that wants convenience. We want things now. And unfortunately, what we've relied upon for that is the use of chemicals, right? So that being said, getting people to grow their own food, we can do it in a sustainable manner without the use of chemicals by using permaculture principles. And that's the only way that we really know what we are putting in our body, right? And the only way that we can really assure that it is, that we are truly eating our land. We control it, absolutely. I mean, it's, like your business, my business, I want to hire these people, but I know that it may not get done how I want it to be done. And maybe it'll get done better, but, that's something that we have a tough time with. But, yeah, we need to create that ourselves. Move to decentralized food systems. Okay, we're going to skip this. I love this. This is one. There's one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Amen, Victor Hugo. Skip over some of this stuff. Okay, this is Bill Mollison. For you guys that don't know who Bill Mollison is, kind of the godfather of permaculture. He's an Australian man. He passed away years ago, but this quote really rings true to me. I think it's his most famous. Though the problems of the world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. And what he was talking about, of course, is growing your own food, right? We will cut back on chronic illness, autoimmune disease, deforestation, releasing all of the carbon into the air. Heath did a beautiful job earlier touching on this as well. I mean, I think we're, as a society, as humanity, we're very naive to think that, we can overcome Mother Nature, or that this world, how it was created, there were mistakes, right? I mean, that would be to say God is fallible, which I'm not going to say. Everything, the earth and the sun was created perfectly. And, so that is one of the solutions that Bill Mollison brought to this world, Jim Gale brought to the United States. And here's one by Henry Kissinger, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. Control oil and you control nations, control food and you control people. Okay, top 10 reasons to be growing your own food. Number 1, it's easy. Okay, perennial plants are low maintenance, take little effort to produce food and medicine for years. Food forest abundance and really permaculture, we focus on perennials. Perennials are the plants that will come back every year. They will lie dormant in the winter. The areas of the world where you have an actual winter, 4 distinct seasons. Your perennials will lie dormant in the winter and then come back every spring and start to bud and vegetate and fruit, things like that. And perennials, when you think perennials, you're thinking of fruit trees, you're thinking of nut trees, you're thinking of berry bushes, pretty much all herbs, and a lot of medicinal plants and nitrogen fixers. What I mean by that is when you're dealing with perennials, you've got a lot of plants, a lot of native wildflowers that are going to feed the earth, feed the soil, right? It needs it. So you want to make sure that you have nitrogen fixers, pollinators in your garden. Return on investment. Growing your own food is a great return on investment compared to buying the same foods at the store. I love this example. So apples, there are over 60 different varieties of apples we can grow here in this zone. We are in hardiness zone 6A here in Kansas City. As you get north, you go to 5B, then 5A, further north. As you go south, it goes to 6B and then 7 all the way down to 10 when you're down in Florida. Here in hardiness zone 6A, Kansas City area, we've got over 60 different types of apples you can grow. Each one of those apples has 8 to 9 seeds in it. Each one of those seeds resembles a new apple tree, ideally. Okay, each apple tree, year 5 or 6 in their life cycle, is worth about $500 to $600, and is producing over 100 pounds of fruit. So return on investment is exponential. I mean, really, that's just one apple tree, you know. Food security, create greater food security with the local food system that starts with a food forest and extends indoors. And Heath was hit on local and living local, and you know, we've got everything. You've got everything that you would ever need right here in your city that's produced by people that you know. And I think that's a great way to live, to be able to turn your back on big box chain stores, grocery stores, agriculture in general, that is harming your environment. This is the way to be healthy with the planet. Resiliency, baby. Not to mention the taste of fresh picked fruits, berries, vegetables, and herbs. I mean, it's interesting. You know, a lot of times I'll go to somebody's house. I'll be a guest, and they put out food, and you can tell almost immediately if it's fresh, if it's organic, if it's not organic. It's real easy to taste some of these chemicals in the food that you eat. I mean, and I didn't, I think the first time I heard the term organic was back in the late 80s. It was on TV. I was watching some garbage television, Well, true. Good point. Anyway, it's my story. All right. Reduce stress. Oh my gosh, this is huge. I was looking at the CDC put out some information on the second underlying cause of death under COVID, back in the last few years. And number one was obesity, and obviously not living healthy, but number two was stress and anxiety. Spending time in your food forest can reduce stress and anxiety, and it creates opportunities for meditation, which I think is huge. Every time I do an install, I pray to the earth. I bless it. I ask God to really help this root structure and to bless this soil. This is God's soil. This is God's earth. These are God's skies. And I ask Him to take domain over them. And it's just mind blowing what a connection that we are giving back to people when you talk to the earth and you talk to the water that you're using to water the earth, and you talk to the sunlight that is coming down and helping these plants grow. Just that connection that you have. I like to get outside, and when I'm in my garden, there are never any shoes on my feet, because the largest organ in the body is the skin. The bottom of your feet has a connection with every organ in your body. And so I like for my feet to be in that dirt, in that soil, in that mulch, take up those nutrients as well.
That's what grounding is, right?
Absolutely.
That's just a lot of, you're connecting to the frequency of the earth. And it's been said that when you're connected to the frequency of the earth, that inflammation cannot persist in your body. So I can imagine that's very healthy.
That's something we do. I mean, my household and the household next door is also family. The kids are not feeling well. We get them outside with their shoes off, period. 10 minutes. And it is amazing how their day turns around. I just did it this morning. I woke up, runny nose, went out, just walked around in my yard and my food forest for about 5 to 10 minutes before church. Feel great. And you can still hear some kind of nasally, But anyway, get out there, ground, reverse deforestation. I mean, that is the biggest one for me. That's why we're here right now. Planting trees will help reverse deforestation and provide more animal habitats. One thing with permaculture is we don't want to keep the bugs away. We don't want to keep the animals away. We want them there. We want them to enjoy the abundance. It's about creating an abundance. Remember I told you earlier that an apple tree in its 5th to 6th year is producing over 100 pounds of fruit. My food forest at home is about 500 square feet. It's on the south side of my house. That's where we get the most sunlight. So it makes the most sense. There I've got 2 apple trees. I've got 2 pear trees. and a bunch of other medicinal plants and berry bushes and things like that. So we welcome the birds to come in there and eat some of the berries, and we welcome the rabbits to come in and eat some of the berries and some of the fruits, and they leave their droppings, which feeds the earth. So this is another way, huge way, to reverse deforestation. It creates diverse ecosystems for nature to flourish and provide more abundance. I mentioned that we welcome everything. It's not to say that the way that permaculture works is we have different plants that we plant in our food forest that are insectaries, which means they ward off insects. Okay, and we have different plants that are nitrogen fixers. That you just let them kind of, as their leaves drop, they feed the earth. Things like that. You're creating your own little habitat, your own ecosystem that is self-sustaining when you do this. When you use all the 7 layers of permaculture. So that's what this is discussing: is diverse ecosystem. It's more than, you know, a monoculture farm that you see along the side of the highway as you're driving up to Nebraska or Iowa or south to Arkansas and Oklahoma. There is no ecosystem there. The ecosystem is devastated by all the chemicals that are being sprayed and the tilling and the dead soil. So this produces a diverse ecosystem. And healthier food. When you have all the principles of permaculture working in your garden, you're producing healthier food because you've got healthier soil. You've got worms in there that are turning over the soil. They're the best composters other than maybe black soldier flies. But you're creating healthier soil, which is putting more nutrients back into your food, which is putting more nutrients back into your body. Okay? I'm going to get off topic here for just a minute. Well, this is on topic. Go away from my slide here. So, you know, one of the other things I noticed back in my previous life is Western medicine, kind of the origins of that. You know, every pharmaceutical drug on the market it mimics a plant that grows in nature, right? But the thing is, you cannot patent something that comes from nature. So, Western medicine, you can look up IG Farben. Was the first petroleum-based pharmaceutical company brought to the U.S. about 100 years ago, a little less than 100 years ago. But they did that to make money. Herbologists were basically the study of giving people plants and herbs, medicinal plants to heal. That was done away with, and the funding was all taken away from them. It was given to these new allopathic education systems that would do 2 things. Number one, they would do surgery, and number 2, they would prescribe the pharmaceutical drugs. So now we're understanding that putting back these principles of permaculture and people growing their own food, we're basically putting back the original medicine that was put on this planet by God for us. Number 9, reduce the consumption of poisons. Look up, you guys can look up, and I believe even Google will provide some of this information. If not, you may need to go to a different search engine like Brave or what's another one? DuckDuckGo. One of those that is not so, that will provide more comprehensive.
Less filtered.
Less filtered, there we go. Thank you very much. And just look up the lawsuits against, Monsanto, against Bayer, against Dow Chemical, against DuPont. Look up their criminal history and be prepared to be blown away. Monsanto has been hit with billions of dollars in fines because of Roundup and its links to cancer. It is still on the markets. It is still on the market. It's still being sold at your local hardware store. Mexico actually banned it last year. Commercial use and residential use. Yeah, it's incredible. I thought I heard the U.S. is trying to do the same thing for residential use, but it's still being allowed for commercial use of big agricultural farming. But yeah, there are carcinogenic chemicals in the stuff that's being sprayed on your food. Period. And then freedom. Greater freedom is attained through a self-reliant and empowered food system starting in your own yard. I love the fact that in the spring and summer months, my son is out in my food forest picking berries with his cousins next door, picking berries and just eating them. It is, I love seeing that. Initially, I was kind of like, hey, get out of my garden. What are you guys doing out there? And I was like, that's not the way to be. There's plenty. This is for them. This is for them. And I don't know why that was my first, that was my go-to thought. You get out of there. But it was. Not anymore. If you want to find secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Thank you, Nikola Tesla. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Go out there, take your shoes off, stand in the soil, resonate with it, put on some 432 hertz music, find that on YouTube. It is healing. Get some, make sure you have something to structure your water. And Alemma makes an incredible wand that you can use to structure your water. And then you water your plants with that, and you will be blown away at how the difference in how incredible they are growing. The future of humanity is on our hands. So grow with us. I'll give my email address out to you guys. There are many opportunities for growing with Food Forest Kansas City. My email address is foodforest, FOOD, forest, FORESTKC at protonmail, PROTON mail.com. All right, Heath.
Great timing, Gabe.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great presentation. A lot of really helpful, insightful information, very empowering information. So with that, we would love to hear if there's any questions out there. I'm glad we have a few minutes here. If anybody has anything they want to comment on or share or ask us about, we'd love to hear from you. We were having some issues earlier with hearing people talk, so we might have to do it through the chat room. Let's see what we have in the chat room here. Yeah, it looks like we confirmed that the chat room is open for your questions or comments. Please let us know what you have. We'd love to talk about them, anything at all.
I would like to just say, I read your most recent email today, and that was very well done. So if you guys are not getting Heath's emails regarding KC Wellness Club, please do so. He is creating a community that is really helping the planet. By and large, all the options that he has, he's gracious enough to incorporate me. Thank you very much. With growing food, but also with the clothing and with the meal prep, and doing all this on a local level, I think is critical. It is so critical. Just to give an example, I mean, the installs that I do for customers, I have to source my, all the plants that I get for these from probably 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 different nurseries, because there are so many people buying plants and growing their own food today, which is incredible. It makes me so happy. We are changing. We are making a change. And that is contagious, So we are doing that. But I always want to go local when I can. Those are the first nurseries that I start at, because the soil that these plants are grown in is very much like the soil that they're going to grow in, after they're installed. And that is so important. Sometimes we'll have to have plants shipped from another state, which there are laws that say that they have to be sprayed with certain chemicals, period, just to make sure that there aren't any different mites or aphids introduced into a different system, right? So shopping local and just living in a local, or allowing for something like Heath is doing is growing is just critical for health and for the planet. So thanks a lot for sharing that.
Don't see any questions yet in the chat room. We'll give you one more final call. If there is anything, we'd love to hear from you. Really appreciate all of you joining today and sticking with us till the end. Hopefully you found it beneficial. Would love any feedback, good or bad, or any questions at all, or clarification about anything that we said. Hopefully the drag race outside of the building wasn't too disruptive to your listening experience. I got to give Gabe a big time credit for sticking through that. They might be filming Grease 3 out there right now. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But, looks like we got a thank you in there. Wonderful. Thank you, Mary Ann. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, unless there's anything else, we'll go ahead and close up shop. And really, again, a lot of gratitude for showing up today. Remember, you all are the advocates. You're going out into the mission field after you get off this webinar. And we are all active participants in this world that emerges around us. So do what you can. Be that wonderful, kind soul to this planet and others around you. And most importantly, be that wonderful, kind soul to yourself. Gabe, anything you want to end with?
No, I'm very grateful to be here, and the scientific method is just going out there and trying something new. And if you don't fail, it's getting back up and trying it again, and taking note of why you may have failed, and then your successes as well. So happy to be here. Grow food. Visit Heath. Amen.
Well said.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Thank you to the Climate Council for all of your hard work, not just this past week, but throughout the year that you do. You folks are tremendous people that keep me going and really inspire me. And thanks to KKFI 90.1 FM for sponsoring this week's events. Have a wonderful rest of your day, folks. We'll see you later.